have a pretty good customer loyalty, as far as that goes. So it's really, it's demoing the product, getting people to actually put it in the cart because it's a name that kind of catches with people. It's like, oh, Freezcake. And so these are all things that I think is really important to the brand. And that, like I said, those seasonal flavors, those are actually, I think, possibly going to be bigger than even our normal flavors, even though people love the normal flavors. Especially New York, it's very versatile. Like people use it for baking purposes. With the freeze drying, it doesn't add additional moisture to recipes, so it's really versatile as far as you don't want to make cheesecake. Like even cream cheese got super expensive, so people are like, it's easier for me just to buy a bag of this and then use it. So yeah, so that's pretty much for our retail is what our strategy, how we're looking at it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Startup CPG podcast. This is Grace, and I'm here with another founder feature. Today, I'm talking to Jennifer Schwartz, the founder of Freezcake, a freeze-dried cheesecake brand. Jennifer bakes their cheesecake from scratch and freeze-dries it while it's still fresh, making it a truly unique product in the fast-growing freeze-dried category. We talk all about how she came up with this idea, how she's utilizing TikTok Shop, and what it's like to self-manufacture while also launching into Whole Foods. I hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, let me know what you think. Hello, everyone. This is Grace, and today I'm so excited to be joined by Jennifer Schwartz, the founder of Freezcake. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, so excited to have you. So I'd love to start with you just introducing who is Freezcake to our listeners.
So Freezecake is the first brand of freeze-dried cheesecake. So we actually make the cheesecake in-house, all natural, very simple ingredients, and then we put it into a freeze dryer in less than 24 hours, so it locks in that flavor of fresh baked cheesecake.
So delicious, and an idea I truly never would have thought of on my own. And I had the opportunity to try Freezecake at Fancy Foods last year, and it's so yummy and decadent in a way that's really unexpected. And I'm just curious of how you came up with this idea because, like I said, it's truly something I never in a million years would have thought of myself.
Yeah, so we have a pretty crazy story of how we created Freezecake. So I've been a pastry chef for 18 years and had a bakery doing wholesale orders, restaurants, and catering events. So then, 2020 hits, and 2020, everybody's going crazy. And we started making cheesecakes from the bakery, had, started on Uber and all delivery apps since, we have to be social distancing and nobody's coming to the bakery anymore. And then I ended up, unfortunately, getting really sick with COVID. And I'm not thinking of myself, I'm thinking literally of how do we save our inventory of cheesecake? Uh, yeah, because that was literally my baby. So I immediately have this idea when I'm in the hospital while I'm still coherent that we should put it in the freeze dryer. And so my husband helped us chop it up, put it in the freeze dryer, and that is how freeze cake, the initial idea behind freeze cake, was created.
Wow, that's so crazy. And so you freeze dried all this cheesecake that you had in your inventory. And then what happened next? Did you sell it? Did you just like sample it and you were like, wait, this is actually really good? Or like, what did you do next? I mean, you were sick, so I imagine you had to recover first. But
Right. Yeah, so that's the thing is the recovery took a really long time because on top of having the pneumonia and I actually had to learn how to walk again.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, it was a really crazy journey just because I had like a mini stroke and so many different health complications. So I say it took like about a year, but when I had the freeze-dried cheesecake for the first time, it still tasted fresh baked. Like it had that flavor. I was shocked. And I was like, this is crazy. This is a really crazy idea. And I started, doing research and seeing if anything else like this existed on the market, and there was nothing out there, literally nothing. And so I felt that this was a really good idea. I wasn't ready at that time to, fully focus on freeze cake. And then we did, some more market testing, and that really, started seeing that there is an interest in freeze-dried cheesecake.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm amazed that you recovered and then just started a business because it sounds like it was a really long journey. And then you said, let me start another journey.
Yeah, I'm pretty crazy like that. Like even my husband and I, because he's the one that really, pushes me. So he helps me out, but I'm the founder of the company itself, because he also has restaurants and things that he does on the side. So literally, I think 6 months after we got married is when I opened the bakery. He
Wow.
pushed me. He pushed me to open the business, so it's really, him that's like, "Go all," it's all or nothing,
Yeah.
and, I already had so really what we did is we have, converted the existent bakery space into a manufacturing space, since I already had my business and food licenses. I opened it under, a different company that is just that's Freezcake, and that's it, and that's all we do. Although we really do a lot of different flavors of cheesecake, but it's just cheesecake for right now.
Yeah. So I'm curious about when you decided to go all in on this freeze cake idea and pivot away from, the brick and mortar bakery. What were some of your, in your creating this manufacturing space, how did you sort of go from this idea of like, oh, I like this frozen cheesecake to, a packaged product that you now could sell to customers?
Yeah, so, we did a lot of different recipe testing. What was funny is we started with Japanese cheesecake because that was the cheesecake that I was selling from the bakery. My husband, one of the restaurants that he's really, helped build is a sushi restaurant. So I had already been making these Japanese cheesecakes for him, and I wanted to sell it in the South Florida region because we're located in Hollywood, Florida. So I was like, yeah, Japanese cheesecake. I love Japanese cheesecake. I love freeze-dried Japanese cheesecake. It did not catch. It didn't catch. And then once I started doing the New York cheesecake, that started catching, and we sold, primarily direct to consumer. I started doing a bunch of different pitch competitions. Like in 2022, I won Sam Adams' Ruin the American Dream. And that was before we were really selling in any stores, but just the I guess, confidence that this is a viable product for the marketplace. And then I just kind of kept going, pitching. We got a few different small grocery accounts, and then started growing it more on Amazon, and then, those other direct to consumer channels. And with the bakery, it was too much to handle both, the freeze cake and the bakery itself. So in 2023, I officially opened Freeze Cake as a company and closed the bakery down. My clients are still semi disappointed that, because there's a lot of things that we did that were, really cool that people would wait for every year and, come and buy. But, you know, you gotta go with what I guess, feels the most natural, and that was to, continue our path with Freezecake, and that's really what, where we're going and where we see the future. I really see it's not just cheesecake for me, but this is where it starts because you have to start somewhere. But I think the freeze drying category, we saw it explode on TikTok. Like it got so big, but yet people are still really stuck on certain things. So obviously the candy has been a huge trend, and that, fruit has been freeze dried, ice cream's been freeze dried for a long time, but there's not a lot of people that are intentionally making products in order to be freeze dried. And that, like I said, right now it starts with cheesecake while we get it out there, but that freeze drying as a market category, I think it's explosive, and that in the next, 10 years, that's gonna have huge growth. So that's really, for me, that's the biggest thing is to be in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've definitely seen that anecdotally myself of the freeze-dried category being sort of a hot commodity, and you guys are kind of this new product within that that's really exciting. And, especially with your background as a pastry chef, like, I imagine there are so many other ideas you have to freeze dry and play around with. So that's very exciting. I'm curious, well, I had 2 questions. One is, I know the New York cheesecake is what's been, sort of the vision you guys have had. What have the flavors been that you found have been most popular? Is it really like the classics, or has there been any twists that people have been interested in?
Yeah, so people still love the classic. Like our bestseller is obviously the New York cheesecake because people love that classic flavor of vanilla with a touch of lemon. But I think that because we started experimenting so much with different flavors, since we were primarily a direct to consumer brand for, the past 2 years, that what I try to sell is big bundles of different flavors. So I have 9 different, actually I have more flavors than that. But we sell a lot of, 9 packs online, and recently I started making a tiramisu cheesecake, and it's awesome. It's delicious. It's like like my favorite flavor. People are going crazy for it. I had to put a pause on it when eggs went crazy in the price because we literally make a ladyfinger sponge as the base instead of a graham cracker crust. So it's literally ladyfingers. And so yeah, so that flavor, people really, really love it.
Yeah,
Um,
I need that.
yeah, yeah, it's really, really good. So that one's been big, and then even some of our seasonals, like last year, I sold out way too quickly of our eggnog cheesecake. So later this year, that's another flavor that we'll be doing. We're playing around with some others for seasonal, like pumpkin is huge. That should be obvious to everybody. Like pumpkin cheesecake, it's just a natural fit. But for Christmas, we're eyeballing possibly launching a red velvet cheesecake. So I'm recipe testing that right now. And so we're always trying to play around with new fun things. But yeah, so even though our classics is what kind of, retail will be on shelves, that I think that it draws people to know that you have a lot of other really cool flavors that they want to try.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely, and honestly, tiramisu and cheesecake are 2 of my favorite desserts, so that is my dream, dessert right there, basically, so I'm excited for that, and hopefully the price will go down
Go
at some
down.
point, and we will be able to have tiramisu, freeze cake. But speaking of, retailers and getting this product to customers, what has been your approach? I know you said at first you were primarily focused on DTC, but since you've been, in business these last few years, what has been your approach to getting into retail, both small and large?
Yeah, so we, kind of have for the direct to consumer, we actually it went so crazy last year because so we were part of, we were early adopters of TikTok Shop. And so we had a few different viral moments last year and that like we were sold out like every single day. Like we were getting
Wow.
hundreds of orders. It was too much for us to even keep up with on the D2C. But the thing is that with virality that we know that, it kind of it goes up and then it goes down and it goes up and then it goes down. And so we have steady clientele, but that we once we were able to buy all the, machinery that we needed to keep up with orders since we are self-manufacturing, then we started eyeballing retailers and so in the fall, I applied for Whole Foods Leap program, and because I felt like Whole Foods, I mean, it's like my dream retailer, honestly. Like Whole Foods is when I even thought of launching this company, I was like, I want to be in Whole Foods. And so that's like our first big retailer now, and that will be launching April 1st for the Florida location since we're in South Florida.
That's amazing. So exciting and definitely feels like a perfect place for Freezecake. I'm curious what you're thinking in terms of, I hear so many people say, half the battle's getting in, and then the other half the battle is, getting out, getting the customer to buy
Yes.
it, or whatever the saying is. I'm probably botching it. But how are you gearing up for a larger retail presence as you launch into the Whole Foods in Florida?
Yeah, so right now, the biggest thing is that once we're on store shelves, that I feel that the promos are so important, the demo and promo together. So thank God, like I said, my husband, he is the person that is going to be going to all those different stores and sampling because it's a product that even in our smaller stores, like our mom and pops that we sell to, which is primarily right now through Fair that we sell into those stores. But we always give samples because once people taste it, once they try it, that they do tend to, come back. We have a pretty good customer loyalty, as far as that goes. So it's really, it's demoing the product, getting people to actually put it in the cart because, they and it's a name that kind of, catches with people. It's like, oh, freeze cake. So even if it's not the, if even if they weren't to purchase it at that time, that then when we, run promos and things like this that I think that, people will pass by and they're like, okay, you know what, I'll try it out. I'll try it out, and that along with getting that initial purchase, that those seasonal flavors will keep also bringing people in. Because again, everybody that like who has tried freeze cake, they want to try the pumpkin cheesecake. They want to try the eggnog cheesecake. And so these are all things that I think is really important to, the brand and that like I said, those seasonal flavors, um, those are actually, I think, possibly gonna be bigger than even our normal flavors, even though people love the normal flavors, especially New York, it's very versatile. Like, people use it for baking purposes. That's, because you don't with the freeze drying, it doesn't add additional moisture to recipes, so it's really versatile as far as, you don't wanna make cheesecake, like even cream cheese got super expensive, so people are like, "It's easier for me just to buy a bag of this and then use it." So yeah, so that's pretty much for our retail is what our strategy, how we're, looking at it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious if you mentioned that you guys have been self-manufacturing this whole time, and I'm curious, like, as you're expanding into more retailers, is there any conversation or is there any need for you to work with a co-man, or is that something you're considering?
So it's something that we're considering. We've had a really hard time. We've actually met with most of the co-manufacturers, and being a two-step process as far as, I have to bake and the baking, it's not just like it's not a regular cheesecake. So that what we do, it's a really specific process. And we couldn't find anybody to make it to the specifications that we need the cheesecake to be. So that was unsuccessful. If we need a co-man for just the freeze drying process, it's a little easier. But, getting a frozen cheesecake product to a freeze drying facility has just proven to be not really very successful there. So we are thinking actually to keep manufacturing in-house, and we are hoping later this year actually to relocate to a larger facility for processing. And we found a location in everywhere outside of New York City is upstate New York, so it's not really upstate, but it's outside of New York City in New York, and that's working with Cornell Center of Excellence. And yeah, so they're trying to bring more food manufacturers to it's central New York. And so that's where right now we are planning to expand our manufacturing capabilities. And that also, once we're able to expand manufacturing capabilities, that we, might then start adding other, products to the line just because we'll have larger capabilities for both freeze drying and for baking.
We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. I am so excited to announce that Startup CPG finally has an official Amazon agency partner. I know a lot of you are looking to Amazon as a great growth channel for this year and beyond, and Daybreak is the best agency that I've come across that will work with emerging brands. They have a really affordable retainer structure. It's a lot less than you'll find with other agencies that might charge you upwards of $5,000 a month, which is crazy. Based on recommendations from this community, I actually worked with Leon for my own brand and had an amazing experience. The sales grew very quickly. We started ranking really high on organic search results and really just capturing search terms in the category. I think he is an amazing fit for brands in this community, and I highly recommend reaching out to him for a chat. You can reach out to him at leon@daybreak.agency. That's Leon at Daybreak, DAYBREAK.agency. Make sure you mention us at Startup CPG so that you can get $600 of free design credits if you end up working with them. Good luck. And now, back to the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
How is this opportunity with Cornell, is that something that is like incentivized financially, or would this be all, obviously like building, like expanding your manufacturing is expensive too. So I'm curious like how that's working.
Yeah, so it is definitely incentivized. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for somebody, especially in Florida, where it's much more right now expensive to bring product here. You think about shipping costs and everything I was saying just about shipping a frozen product. Well, we use dairy products, and that those dairy products are coming from New York. So we're able to, save a lot on ingredient costs. We've already started, forging relationships with dairy suppliers up in New York. And that's really with the supply chain. It's so important to be able to not only get ingredients at a reduced cost, but also just being able to get those ingredients, because here in Florida, sometimes we don't get shipments of cream cheese, or for example, they were not shipping the yogurt. I use a yogurt in the cheesecake just because it's a little bit lower sugar, lower fat recipe, so people don't feel so, they are eating cheesecake, it feels like cheesecake, but eases some of that guilt from eating the cheesecake. And the yogurt, they for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, they hadn't gotten a shipment of it, and this is something that I use. I mean, I use a lot of every single day because we bake and we freeze dry every single day. And so it will be easier to be in the place where all the food is coming from anyways. And so yeah, so we think that this is going to really, help to grow the brand and um be able to get Freezecake more out there too, because everybody's looking at prices. Everybody's looking at prices, and it's like, oh, it's very expensive. That's sometimes what I hear. But you're a small manufacturer, and you got to start somewhere. But that we want to, be able to lower everything so that that way we can really get our product more out there.
Yeah. I imagine there are a lot of founders who might be in similar boats that you've been in of like, we didn't get our shipment of yogurt. And I'm curious, like, what did you do for those 2 to 3 weeks that you just were not getting this ingredient that you use every day?
Yeah, so it's really expensive because you have to buy retail. You have to buy, obviously I'm buying yogurt. I go through with each batch like several 5-pound containers of, yogurt. So you're buying at wholesale cost. You're not buying retail, and that you have to end up buying those products at retail rates, very expensive. And because especially with us, like our yogurt, it's like plain yogurt, and so I couldn't find other yogurts from, different wholesalers that didn't have all these funny ingredients and things in it. So you have to find a yogurt that is literally the same ingredients as the yogurt that you're using, which again for us it's something that's like it's just like milk and cultures, and there's nothing else added to it. But that you look at yogurt and it has like gelatin added, it has other thickeners, guar gum, and, stuff like this. Not that I look down on, thickeners, at least that are naturally based, but still, it's not something that we put into our product, and it even changes the consistency. So there's definitely, it is very expensive to have these disruptions in the supply chain. And I think that's what a lot of other people feel too, is that it's either that you stop production or that you have to pay a lot more for your ingredients. And so, we feel it for sure.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to be reliant on these external sources that are like so chaotic sometimes and completely out of your control. And yeah, you're absolutely right that you're stuck sort of in between two pretty shitty situations, excuse my language. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here. But yeah, it's really tricky. Another thing I was thinking of as you were talking is those moments you said where you kind of went viral and then you would sell out and be selling beyond, like you couldn't even keep up with the capacity. And I'm wondering, you know, on the one hand, people are always like, oh, it's so, I wish we would go viral, right? And then on the other hand, there is this sort of challenge of going viral of like, oh my God, now I have to fill all these orders. How did you manage that?
Yeah, it was tough. I'll be honest. It was really tough because it's kind of like sometimes the chicken before the egg type of thing. Because at that time, I didn't even have the freeze drying capabilities. And then once I got a bunch more, because with the money from all those orders, we buy a bunch of freeze dryers, and then your viral moment's over for that time. And so then you have, more freeze dryers, but then you're no longer like getting all those orders in. So you have to keep it up all the time. And that once we had that larger manufacturing, that's like I said, that when we made the decision, hey, you know what? Instead of having to rely constantly on, oh, going viral, oh, this, that it would be easier to get into store shelves, and to, focus on retail while still having our direct to consumer base. And that's why, like I said, for us, we've decided with that to keep all those crazy flavors, but that with the retail, just to have a few different flavors that are best sellers. And that also, that way they can buy one at a time versus having like online, you have to buy like a 3 or 4 pack minimum. You have to wait for that shipping, and that, that part for us is a little more convenient because especially when you're shipping hundreds of orders out, as much as, post office, they've been great, they have been great, but they lose orders all the time. And that is really inconvenient, even though like technically we have insurance. I've never seen money back like from these like, insurance from the post office. So, and that's part of the cost of, doing business as a direct to consumer brand, but that it certainly is, very inconvenient for that piece, especially when people complain. Like most of my 1 stars are package never received, package. So like all of our negative reviews are like package never received. I'm like, I put it in the mail. That, so like I sent that package out. This is not my fault that you didn't receive the package. You should be giving the post office, a 1 star rating. So that also, that was something that for us, like I said, that I was like, okay, as much as I love the direct to consumer, and that's something to always, keep strong, that I think that you also have to have a retail presence as an emerging brand, just because, people want to buy it on store shelves. They don't want to necessarily have to, buy it online and wait when, it is kind of an impulse purchase to begin with.
Yeah, totally. That makes complete sense. And I know I always feel so bad when I see those reviews on people's brands. I'm like, it's not their fault. It's a good product. You just didn't get it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, just, I feel bad. But I also, I get it. I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your approach to social media is now that you're like not focusing as much on DTC, but still obviously do it. And like, how do you approach using TikTok and, the other platforms?
Yeah, so we do a lot of TikTok live. So I think that that is a really good selling platform for people who are just, getting into the CPG and still want to test things out. I think that it reaches people more sometimes than just videos because you're talking to a real person. If you have questions about things, you can literally, it's so easy to have, and on top of that, that you also, people will join our live that already follow us and are like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And they, ask questions. So you're building a community, and, you're building people like early adopters of your product that are, those are your cheerleaders. Those are the people that, support you and they want to see you succeed. So I think that that's something that's really, special to specifically TikTok, and hopefully, please, TikTok, do not get fully banned. I have a feeling TikTok is going to be around. I don't think TikTok is going. People kept asking me, they're like, "Why do you use TikTok? It's going to be banned." And I'm like, no, no, I don't think TikTok is going to be fully banned because it's too integral to a lot of people's lives. I will say we were at the fancy food show when it went dark.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that was so freaky. And then within, I think like later that day, so within like a few hours, that it was up again. I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, thank God. Um,
Totally.
yeah, but I think that, Instagram for us, it wasn't something that really caught because Instagram, it's really about like curated posts and, things like this. Whereas like TikTok, it's just about kind of being yourself. And that is something, to us that we've always, kind of kept is that it's not something that's super fancy like our product. It's like, oh, it can have beautiful pictures of it, but that's, it's not really, I guess, who we are. We just kind of like I said with TikTok, it's really informal. You just, you take your phone, you go live, or you make a video of just like every day being, an entrepreneur, and that, people have an interest and they want to check it out. And then it's really easy with the TikTok shop was the easiest thing I set up. It's easier than Amazon. So I tell people all the time, please, like, if you have a product that you can ship, get on TikTok Shop. Get on TikTok Shop, because it's much easier to be on TikTok Shop and just link products to videos, versus, having it like if you put your website link or something like this, it's not as convenient because TikTok, they incentivize a lot of different things. So, like, when we first went on the platform even, they were offering, like, 50% off our product. That wasn't a sale I put up, that was a sale TikTok, they were paying for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there, and even now, like, they have missions and they give you money all the different time to, bring more people in. So it's like with them because they want to be like a direct competitor to Amazon that they really, they're trying to get more merchants, please, please. So all these, different suppliers and everything, they really should be on TikTok Shop. And I think that is, I think that's bigger right now than Instagram or Facebook or all these other platforms. I mean, part of it is for us, we do target a younger, set. Like we're really Gen Z people that are more like 18 to 40, type of consumers. But I still think that that is really, important to be reaching those people. And that Instagram doesn't reach those people anymore. Facebook's, or I don't even use Facebook anymore, to be honest. It's just TikTok. TikTok is the platform.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely fallen victim to TikTok Shop and buying something that I certainly don't need. But it's very easy to do, and so it's good for brands. And there was another founder I interviewed recently who was saying a similar thing that they've really found a lot of success on TikTok Shop. So that's awesome to hear that Freezecake has also found success there. So as we're nearing the end, I'd love to hear about what you hope to see Freezecake do, or where you hope to see it expand to over the next year to few years. This will be coming out in the end of March, early April this year. So, what's coming up for Freeze Cake?
Yeah, so for this year that we really are kind of like targeting certain things. So we do have our Whole Foods launch and that we are currently in talks with a few other, natural retailers, specifically also with some of those seasonal flavors that I talked about earlier. But that for the next coming years, that we're really focused on kind of the East Coast right now and building that since we are on the East Coast before, we go crazy all over the country. I mean, we're shipping all over the country right now, but as far as retail, that we're really, kind of right now focused on Florida since we're here, and that then from Florida growing both the Southeast channels and then Northeast once we move our manufacturing up there. And that once we're able to really, hit all the different retailers, and there are so many between Southeast and Northeast, East Coast. So once we hit, specific retailers there, I'm not going to name names because for me, I like to be there before I announce it. Um, But so once we're able to, get into those places, that then we're gonna, focus on a national rollout. And then, from there, we're really, because the best thing for us about Freezecake, what I really love is that it's omni-channel. So, this is not just a natural product or a gourmet product. This is a product that, people are like, oh, bring it to Walmart. I'm not really, and no, I'm not ready for Walmart. But we are already, eyeballing C stores. We were part of 7-Eleven's Brands with Heart. So we will be, in different C stores as well. And that's, an exciting channel for us because it's not just retail, but that also, it's a snack. So it's really easy just to grab and go while you're driving or anything. But so yeah, so really right now it's kind of stay local in, building that, and then to, do a big sweep kind of as we continue to grow and expand.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was like, "Oh my god, Freezecake needs to be on college campuses, like, in the little C-stores on college campuses." I was like, "If I was in college, I totally would be buying
And
Freezecake."
we have a few stores. We have actually through Fair.
Oh,
Fair.
awesome.
Yeah, so we have a few different college stores that buy, through there. But that, again, that's one channel that we're, gonna continue to expand on. But there is a lot there, and that, it's easy, I think, sometimes as a CPG brand to like lose yourself and want to go everywhere, but that, we're trying to first, like I said, kind of like grow in a certain, direction before we are everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, where can people learn more about Freezecake and buy Freezecake if they're interested?
Yeah, so actually, when I tell people you want to learn more about Freezecake, check out our TikTok channel.
Perfect.
So that's Freezecake Nation, and that's where we put the most content out. We have our website, freezecake.com, super easy, and that, you can always reach out and email us. We're pretty responsive there too. And that's info@freezecake.com.
Amazing. Well, everybody go follow Freezecake on TikTok and purchase some delicious freeze-dried cheesecake. It's so good and decadent and delicious, and you won't regret it. And it was so much fun to chat with you, Jennifer.
You too. Thank you so much, Grace.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would help us out so much if you left a 5-star review on ratethispodcast.com/startupcpg. I am Grace Kennedy, the host of the Founder Feature Series, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn or reach out to me on Slack. I'm always on the hunt for new and exciting brands to feature. And if you're a potential sponsor who would like to appear on the podcast, please email partnerships@startupcpg.com. And finally, as a reminder for anyone listening, if you haven't already, we would love for you to join our community on Slack. You can sign up via our website, startupcpg.com.